Welcome to BP Leadership Podcast, where real leaders are made. I'm your host, Bill Purvis, and today we're beginning the fourth talk with my good friend, Matt Mauck. Matt's a successful owner of an IT company that began at the age of 18. He's done very well in life. He practices jiu-jitsu and knows technology, and he's balanced in every other area. He's got a personality that just lights up a room. I'm looking forward to sharing with him today and hearing from him today about what's going on. He's going to tell you about core values of a company and about how to deal with scammers on the internet, a lot of other things that we'll get into and delve into. My hope is that today that you'll be inspired as I am with my friends. So let's get started listening with our guest, Matt Mauck.
Yeah, easier to divide quickly.
Yeah.
And what's interesting is, obviously the Russians and how they had 250 plus people that were working in a building all day long. All they were trying to do was just make people mad.
Yeah.
They were scheduling, say, and I'm not saying this correctly, like a pro-gun and then say like a pro-abortion.
Yeah.
They were scheduling those things side by side on the same street because they knew it was going to start a ruckus.
Wow.
And they were the head of the group.
Yeah.
They were never, not even in the States.
Isn't that?
But it's funny, they can use those mechanisms.
Yes.
And that's a whole other thing is that if we have access to everybody's pocket,
Mm-hmm.
we know their moods.
Yeah.
We know, their point of life, their
Yeah.
age. We know their standard traffic way to school or to work
Mm-hmm.
or whatever, who they're around.
Yeah.
We know their friends.
Yeah.
If we know all these things, then all of a sudden social manipulation becomes way easier to take somebody and just shift them a little bit this way
Yeah.
or shift them a little bit that way.
Yeah.
And it's primarily, I think, it's going to be a much larger problem with my son's generation. My son's 9,
Yeah.
daughter 7. So that generation, we've made a decision in our house that they're not having phones.
Yeah. Yeah.
And
I'm
it's-
seeing that some now.
Yeah, they're now. I heard one starting to say wait till 8th, which is kind of something they're going
Right.
on with. But the way that our smart devices work is that they're timed, so they get an allotment of screen time. So once the
Right.
screen comes on, it starts tracking the time, and once they've
Okay.
hit that time zone, that time mark, it cuts it off. You're done.
Right.
See you tomorrow.
Yeah.
Right? Because there is a very intelligent individuals who are making sure that you look at those devices as often as possible.
Yeah.
So we protect our kids from alcohol,
Yeah.
from smoking,
Right.
nicotine, these
That's
addictive
right.
substances.
Yeah.
But yet we hand them a device that's triggering a dopamine shot
Yes.
all
I've
the
heard
time.
that.
And so all of a sudden it's like, why are we not monitoring? Why are we treating this not as an addictive substance? But yet at the same time, if you were to see somebody hand a 9-year-old a shot of liquor,
I know.
you'd go to
Yeah,
jail.
That's right. That's
Right,
right.
like it-
And, yeah.
And so I think so what happens? So maybe 20 years from now, all of a sudden now there's regulatory stuff on because, oh gosh, this has caused a problem.
Yeah.
We built this whole generation of people who,
That's-
their communication skills aren't
Yeah.
there. Not to mention, if me and you
Right.
were mad at each other,
Right.
we would say way more things over text
I know.
than in this room.
I know.
And honestly, in the room, we'd make it up. We'd probably be cool. We'd leave and
Yeah.
we'd keep going. But guess what? When there's not the interaction,
Right.
it escalates quickly.
Yes. Yeah.
I've
seen I've seen kind of a number of ways it can go. One question would be along that line is where is it going? Because it's moving so fast that direction. Somebody compiling all the info, and I guess that all determines on how we intend to use that data. If you want to use it for good, there's possibility. If you want to use it for bad, you can do that too. So it's a matter of that. The other that you mentioned just about the dopamine thing, I'd heard about millennials now that they've been tracking and found out that if they get a like on their Facebook or their Instagram or Twitter, a like raises their endorphins, and if they get a dislike, it lowers that. And so their moods swing based upon whether they're liked or not liked on a social media platform with people they don't even know. That's
teenage girl suicide rate is like through the roof.
Is it?
Oh yeah, it's gone way, and it's literally you can look at the metric,
Right.
and it was like social media, whoop, just skyrocketed.
Really? Yep.
And and obviously the males don't. I think for whatever reason, the males are like, all right, I'll see you tomorrow.
Yeah.
You know
Yeah,
what I
that's
mean?
right.
Like,
Yeah.
we're gonna
Yeah.
handle this tomorrow.
I know a guy.
You know?
Somebody said something ugly about his wife and child, and he's a big old hoss. And he said, "I just Googled you," and he says, "I know where you live." He said, "I'll see you this week."
That's
and
right.
And then the guy on the other end is, "I'm sorry, I apologize. Didn't know that was your wife. Didn't know your child," because he went and saw his picture, and the guy's a beast. And so
Yeah,
I thought, well, that was a quick way to handle that way. So
yeah, it's gonna be interesting. I hope that And for me, you could say I'm a new parent. Obviously not 9 and 7, but still that's young to me. I feel like every day I'm a new parent.
Yeah.
You know, it's always new to me.
It is.
And so I'm like, I hope I'm navigating this well enough.
Yeah.
You know, because maybe I know a little more than the average.
That's right. You do.
You know, maybe I know a little bit more. So I'm hoping that I'm taking that little bit of extra knowledge I have and I'm navigating it well enough, because I don't want to chastise the guy who gives his phone to his son at the restaurant. He sits on it for an hour because, for all I know, they just run baseball practice. The kid's been out. He's taking a break. They just want to, and so I'm not chastising that. But I do get fearful of the younger children having just unlimited tether access to it. You know, and so, because like a big thing they had on YouTube several months ago now was. These YouTubers get paid on subscriptions, right? So the more subscribers, the more money you make. Right?
Yeah. Okay.
Typical.
Yeah.
Well, a lot of these YouTubers who were doing so, they found out, wow, kids subscribe to everything, right? You take my 9-year-old and my 7-year-old, the amount of times they've asked me to hit the subscribe button, but I won't let them because it's my YouTube account. Yeah. I don't want all this stuff on my YouTube. No, I don't want no Siggly Sue and whatever. I don't want none of this stuff on there. So I just tell them don't do it. Well, these adult YouTubers have found out, oh, wow, let's just change our game. Now I'm going to dress up like Batman.
Right.
And then you're going to dress up like Elsa.
Right.
And then we're going to just do some kid-friendly videos. Right. And then we can use the title to try to work with the algorithm at Google so that when these kids, who now they have kids YouTube, it's supposed to be like a more censored, more safe place for them to be. Yeah. All of a sudden now my videos can play there and I'll get subscriptions. So now these people are making way more money making kid videos. Yeah, and I believe in every way, like, I mean, shout out to Dude Perfect. Like, they're massive. And I've watched them with my kids. Those guys are G-rated. They're hilarious. They do very fun stuff. I think there's plenty of great channels out there. But when you take a child and they're just going from video to video to video, because YouTube don't want you to leave. Right. So you take this 7-year-old, video. And guess what? Back in our day, if you wanted to see a movie, guess what? There was a rating attached to it. And sometimes my mom would say, I'm going to see it first. Right? But now we're just constant trove. And so who is training your kid? Yes. Where are they gathering? Who are they learning from? You know, that's what's like the biggest thing to me is like so we've changed it in our house where they can only watch YouTube on the TV. Okay. And the reason I've done that is because we can see it. Yeah. And as soon as I hear something odd, I'm like, I don't like this. Turn that off. And my kids don't question it. They just turn it off and move on. Yeah. Because I want to know what these people are saying to my children. Yeah. And it's way more difficult when they're in front of their face with a little iPod or even worse, to have headphones on. Yeah. That scares the death out of me.
Yeah. And they don't know. That's right. They're just taking in the information.
No. They're 8 years old. Yeah. You know, they were pooping in their pants 5 years ago. Yeah. Like I don't want to give them that responsibility to decipher if this is legitimate content. You know, my 9-year-old comes up, tells me stuff. I'm like, that's definitely not real. Let me explain to you why not. Yeah. So why don't I want to give him this he said on YouTube. Yeah. He has no reference. He's 9. You know?
And if they learn all that way and they don't have interaction with other people, you know, I think that, you know, I see some kids that don't know how to talk to each other. And, you know, they're 16 years old and they want to ask for a date, but they don't know how. But now if you get a phone, they perhaps can talk. But, but they just have lost that ability. So I think that it gives you a benefit there. Brent and Carrie walked out of a movie the other day that had something in it that was a child's movie but something they said it and then they said it again. So he just turned and said, all right, we're out. And of course, Elijah, on the autism spectrum, he didn't understand why we're leaving. Why are we leaving? It's not over. Why are we leaving?
Yeah, it's weird. It seems like in today they're taking and they nudge these different agendas inside these movies. Yes. And for me, I could be watching a movie and I'm like, wait a second. Like, is this really going here? Like, are we? And it's kind of slight. It's just a little bit. That's right. That's and so, but you know, all it takes is a little bit.
It's that Trojan horse. They just get in the door. Little
bit, you know.
Yeah. And then you become inoculated to it.
Yeah. And in IT, you know, one of the biggest things we can deal with is people who they effectively do social engineering. So what they do is like, say you get email tomorrow, right? And it's from one of your staff members that says, Mr. Bill, we're having this situation. We're going to order this new piece of equipment. It is fairly expensive. It's $2,000. But as you can see, you know that we need it. We've talked about this before. Right. We have an opportunity to get it at a discounted rate. Will you go ahead and click here and approve this? Right. Well, it came from Johnny. Johnny works for you. You've been talking about needing a new device. Okay. Well, what's happened is somebody hacked your account a month ago. They watched who does what. They take that account and now they send you a very legitimate email.
Mm-hmm.
That link, however, is illegitimate.
Wow.
And you're going to get your money.
Yes.
But it's just that little slight.
Yeah.
Same thing they're doing in movies. Just a little. Let me just take and slide it just a little bit because everything else is real and it sounds very real. But as soon as they get that money, they're done. And guess what? Sometimes they'll. The new thing is that they'll say, "Hey, we have your pictures, and you were doing some bad things in these pictures, and we're going to publicize them, and we're going to put you under the bus, and da-da-da." And I get a call probably once a week with some poor girl that's crying because they think that this is real and everything else. So social engineering, even in that hacker world, crazy? It's it's the same thing in videos. They're just tweaking it just a little bit. Let's make this normal.
Yeah. Well, we had something similar that a while back. It's about Disney World. We went to Disneyland. We went to see our son out in California. And we thought we'll stay on the property and then we'll meet the grandkids there and take them around Disneyland. And so my wife Debbie went and filled out everything on the internet for the hotel room there. And when she got through, something didn't feel right. So she called the hotel and said, "Listen, I'm trying to do such and such and all this," and said, I wasn't sure about the site. And the lady said, "Ma'am, will you show me that? I want to get on the same site." She said, "I'm going to call security." So she called security in. The guy identified himself there at the hotel. He said, "We've been trying to track that one." He said, "Thank you for staying on the line." He said, "They have copied our front page and everything else for Disneyland, and they have swapped it over there. And we're having people show up thinking they have a hotel room, and they don't, and thinking they bought park passes, and they don't have any, and we had no record." And they had basically just taken the face and mirrored it over on their place. And so the guy thanked her. Later she got something back from him, but they said, "We just want to tell you, most people will do it, and they come here and complain. Fortunately, you got it on your screen right now while we're talking to you. So give me the numbers. Read the top. So and so.
That's right. He wants to see where it's coming from.
Yeah, and that was. And she said, for some reason, she said it looked identical, but there was some question they asked that just didn't feel right. Like, give me your credit card now. So she said
they get a little pushy.
Yeah,
they want to seal the deal.
That's right. And so she said, I would have never thought I was that close to doing it.
Yeah, they do that with banks. Everybody.
Wow.
Yeah.
So you think you're doing business with a legit business.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
We had one yesterday. It was a law firm that was emailing a health facility, and it was discussing a pending case because there was some data breach. Not a data breach on the health facility side, a data breach on the law firm side. Right. But however, because one of their patients was at the health facility, they were supposed to report it to the federal government, blah, blah, blah. Right? Super awesome email. When I say super awesome, I read it, and I was like, oh, these people are in trouble.
Yeah, you think it's,
And the more I started looking into it, I started digging. I was like, oh, so same thing. That lady's account on the law firm side had been compromised some time ago. They had got all this figured out, and we're literally in the process of getting this health facility to fill out a very detailed form about someone.
Right.
And so I was like, so they are it's always funny to me when people. Everyone's not stupid. Okay,
right.
So like, why do we think a hacker is stupid? Like these people are very smart. Now, granted, some of them live in very rough conditions, right? But that doesn't mean that they're not smart. Yeah, that's right. So they're not going to come to you and say, "Hey, I'm Mr. Hacker. Please fill this form out." Like, come on. So they really good. That's the whole thing is spoofing. They want you to think you're in the right place because the typical user, they're making the phone calls now. The typical user is like they just kind of think, maybe it's Americans, but we almost think that people are always being honest. Right. We just kind of, that's a part of America. We kind of like, we just trust that you're being honest with me, and you have to kind of almost do something for me to not trust you. Yeah. And so they take advantage of that. So that's a big thing, just phishing and scamming and all that kind of stuff. Now,
how do you notice that to be aware? Is there software that can protect you from that? Is there?
So what we typically do on most of our facilities is that, we have different levels of facilities. Like, so our largest facility is in California, and they have, I think, 30 retail stores and 2 corporate offices. So that facility, and then, the small mom and pop shop with 4 registers is a completely different ballgame. But typically what we do is we monitor the traffic everywhere. So when they go to wellsfargo.com or any of these big banks and Ovis and all these guys, when they go there, they hit enter, and it has to go to the web, and it pulls it across the wire. Right. Well, what we do is before it comes across the wire, our software looks at it and says, is this a legitimate site? And then that software itself is a cloud-based software that is,
right.
many times a day,
right.
being populated with the current threats, current fake sites, etc. So then what happens is if you see Wells Fargo, 99.9% you're at the right site.
Okay.
Otherwise, you're going to get a site denied. This
Right.
is spam, malware, check your, and then it'll even tell you the address you typed in. And guess what? You typed in Wells Fargo with too many Fs or whatever.
Wow.
And so that's how we
So
do
you
it.
can-
We try, and now there's many ways, but that's the first step. The first step is don't even let it in the
Right.
network. And then that way, there always kind of a safety mechanism there, right?
Yeah.
But then, of
It's
course, when you
built
get into email social engineering, it's a little bit more difficult. But
Yeah.
guess what? If they click that link, the link don't work.
Yeah.
So
Okay.
that's the first step that we
Yeah.
do is we try to keep it from getting in the building.
Okay. Yeah, you'd wonder about that. And then let me ask you this. On a personal level, what are some of your values? What are the things that you say, this is important to me, this is not, other people this is important to, but for me, this is what makes me who I am or what I value the most?
So if I broke it down, this is going to be a little on the odd side, Mr. Bill. You know I'm weird.
No, you're
So
not.
my mother, like land of mercy,
Right.
we call her.
Yeah.
So no, she's never met anybody that she didn't like.
Right.
And to her, and I know it's because in her eye and to her, everyone in God's eyes is important.
Yeah.
It doesn't matter
Yeah.
if they're living on the street.
That's
It doesn't
right.
matter if they're a billionaire, gazillionaire,
Right.
or a hundredaire.
Right.
They're important, and
Yeah.
she's going to love them. And so growing up around that, spiritually, what's kind of like my core thing is that I think that everyone deserves a place in heaven. And I don't think that how you're doing here matters.
Right.
Okay? And I think that everyone's important. And I get real hung up sometimes when us as Christians, we get so focused on so many things.
Right.
And I believe
Right.
that everyone has a spiritual gift, and so
Yeah.
they might need to be focused on that certain thing or
Right.
this certain thing. I'm not denying that.
Yeah.
But for me, in my heart, I don't want people to go to hell.
Right. That's right.
And I think that one of the main things is that we're to be fishers of men.
Right.
Okay.
That's right.
And if I were to chastise somebody because they did something incorrectly,
Yeah.
if I were to bust them because they used the wrong language,
Right.
if I were mad at them because they didn't know the scripture like I knew,
Right.
if there's all these many things where I can compare myself
Yes, that's
to
right.
him, the heathen,
Yeah.
right? But at the end of the day, who cares?
That's right.
Because when
That's
you
right.
show up to heaven, and I firmly believe this,
Mhm.
I believe that God's not going to look at you and say, look at all the great things you did.
Yeah,
You
that's
are
right.
on the business, and you
Yeah.
had a great wife, and your
Right.
kids will grow up great. And so he's going to say, who'd you bring?
That's right. Wow.
Who'd you bring with you?
I like
Because he's not going to care about you. He's going to care about all the people that are coming behind you
There
that
you
you are
go.
witness to. But here's the problem. I'm a horrible witness, evangelist, right?
Yeah.
I'm not that good at it.
Uh-huh.
It's very difficult to do.
Yeah.
And so I've decided that if my life can be the testimony,
Mhm.
my mother, once again,
Right.
your life is a testimony.
Yeah.
Use it wisely, right?
It is. That's right.
So if my life can be that testimony, then live my life as good as I can.
Yeah.
Fumble and all, right?
Right.
I'm going to mess up
That's
all the
right.
time. But hey, stay on the path when I know it's, even if it's a hard
Yes.
path, right?
Right.
Just constantly stay in prayer, because you call them prayer flares.
Right.
I feel like I'm talking to God all day
Yeah.
long.
Oh, yeah.
It does seem kind of awkward sometimes,
Yeah.
but I'm talking to him about my car keys and
Right.
about all kind of stuff.
Everything.
Everything,
Yes.
like why not? Amen.
Yeah.
I got the access.
That's right.
So I want to make sure that that is what's so important to me, and I know that that's not necessarily my biggest. I can't just Bob.
Right.
He could walk up to anybody
yeah.
and be like, "Hey, do you know the
That's
Lord?"
right.
And
Yeah.
they're like, "What?" Let me tell you about
Yeah.
I don't have that in me, and
Yeah.
so I was like, "Look, let our life show it.
Mm-hmm.
Let me make sure that my kids are surrounded by it.
Right.
Let me make sure that this place in
Mhm.
Cascade Hills,
Right.
this place is a church that is trying their best to get every person
Right.
they can out of hell."
That's
okay?
right. That's right.
So then if I can be a part here,
Mm-hmm.
that's why I love this place.
Yeah.
Because I can't do it alone.
Right.
Right?
That's right. None
I
of us
need
can.
wonderful pastors.
That's right. None of
I
us
need
can.
wonderful staff. I
Yeah.
need all these things. So, I think you've
Yeah.
seen me working in the parking
Yeah,
lot
I
sometimes,
have.
right?
I've seen you out there greeting, working in the
What
parking
am
lot.
I doing in a parking lot on a rainy
Yeah.
day? But guess what? The person that came there, I don't know that the person that's driving in just had the worst night of their life.
That's right. That's right.
Right? So when they see somebody smiling in the rain,
Yeah.
in the cold,
That's right.
helping you with whatever, and
Mhm.
literally just getting you to the door. That's all
Yes,
we're doing.
that's
Just,
right.
Here's the door, right?
Yes.
Hopefully that makes a difference.
It does.
Right?
It's a big difference. They say the first 4 minutes, the person decides whether or not they're coming back.
Which is it's
Yeah.
kind of heavy now, right? Oh, no.
Yeah. But what it does is for you is it immediately says we care about you. If somebody comes up and we have it all the time. People say everything was fine in my life. I didn't need God. Everything was well. Then all of a sudden I got this health scare on Friday, so I'm going to church on Sunday. Or my wife is planning on leaving me, I'm going to church on Sunday. Or I'm about to go overseas and I've suddenly got my deployment papers and I want to go to church on Sunday. And we get that a lot. And it'll be that first-time guest. But what makes a difference is they walk in the door, whether, like I said, coming in the rain or whatever, and there's somebody sitting out there saying, we welcome you. That to them is as much of a reward and a blessing and a help to getting us where we need to be as anything else. We think sometimes the song and the preaching does it. I think the people do it right off the bat. I think if they feel welcomed by the people when they're sitting there, there's a lot greater chance they're going to listen.
All right, well, the next episode that you're going to hear is part 5 of Bill's conversation with Matt Mauck. And this one is probably my favorite part of this conversation that he had with Matt, because Matt is by far one of just the most grateful people I know. He's got one of the biggest hearts of anybody I've ever met. And Matt just is so genuine and kind to the core. In this next episode, you're going to hear him talk about gratitude and how important it is to stay in a constant and consistent state of gratitude. So you don't want to miss this one. This is one you're going to want to share with, you're going to want to listen for yourself to kind of make sure that you're staying in that state. And you may be a grateful person and constantly be in that state. So this is a good refresher just to remind yourself of why that's so important. But this is also another good one to share with somebody who may need to hear it, who may need that encouragement or that refresher like we talked about. So make sure you get ready for this one. Subscribe so that you get notified when it releases, as well as share it with the people that you know that need to hear and benefit from and learn from these podcasts. And guys, this thing is growing. I know we've said it before. This podcast is growing, and it is 100% because of you guys. It's because you're liking it. It's because you're subscribing. It's because you're sharing it with your friends and your family members and your coworkers. So we encourage you, keep doing that. Keep doing what you're doing and take it a step further if you don't mind. If you really like this podcast and this content, if you'll rate it and review it, because not only will that notify other people and show them that you like this podcast and that it's good, but it'll help get us in front of another audience and just keep widening our influence. So make sure you do that for us. Subscribe, rate it, and review it so that we can get more people onto this podcast and they could see the kind of stuff that you're able to see and get to hear the impact that it's having on your life as well. So make sure you do that. Subscribe, rate, and review. Thank y'all for joining us. Stay tuned for the last part of this podcast, and remember that this is where real leaders are made.